looking at like experiencing this medical condition, the problem I had, it was frustrating to see how generic all the people were approached by the medical. No matter was a top hospital in like probably best hospital in Europe, or just some hospital in Romania or a clinic in Romania. They were like, oh yeah, we do it like that, like super rapid, super fast and so on. And it was clear to me that this, not just in my problem, but in most of the diseases, it's a huge issue that can be solved somehow with technology. So I said, okay, let's try to look at the individual a little bit different. And when it helped me, it felt somehow too easy, because in all these years it felt like there's no alternative, you just have to wait. And then like 1 year later, I was like, bam, it works. And I asked myself, okay, there is this market of people experiencing the same journey of troubles I was experiencing, and they think there is no solution. Let's just recruit some of them and see if it works for them. It's again going to those two metrics. How disciplined are they? You can be like super talented. If you are not disciplined, we can't work, because it's not going to be always great. You will not always be driven by talent. There will be painful points where we just have to do it. So there are those examples where people are so committed and so driven by what they want to do that they ignore any kind of obstacle, and they say, okay, I'm driving the Ferrari to the wall because the wall will move at some point, I'm accelerating and it will happen.
Călin, welcome to Startup Talks podcast. I am super glad that you are here.
Thank you for the invite. Yeah.
I kind of discovered you a couple of months ago on LinkedIn, and I was like, okay, this guy is doing something very interesting, and hence I invited you to join us, and I'm super happy that we finally end up doing this episode.
It's a pleasure.
You are coming from not very far away, and I'm very happy to see that also in Arad there are at least a couple of you and maybe some others trying to be some amazing stuff. I will let you introduce yourself just a bit, and then I want us to go back through the roots of your kind of career and start in this startup ecosystem, because as I named you in our script, you're kind of a full stack startup ecosystem member or organism in this ecosystem. You have the experience so many areas. So thank you again, and tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm Călin. Currently, I'm co-founder and CEO of Nostra Biome. Nostra Biome is a company that it's doing microbiome intelligence for different type of diseases. We did it essentially to solve a problem of myself. We solved it with this technology. Then we asked ourselves the question, if can we solve it for other people, and it worked for other people, and that's how the snowball started. But the whole story basically started on the back of a few other companies I was building in the past, as we started a little bit to discuss before going on record. I left Romania pretty early. I left it for a master in innovation management in London. After I was studying here computer science in high school, and then while I was doing computer science in high school, I started to develop some sort of attraction for media, photography, cinematography, and I asked myself if I really want to be just an engineer or if I want to do something else. And I was actually a pretty good photographer at that time, and I went to Cluj to a university studying cinematography, photography, and media. And while I was there, very engaged into the whole media topic, somehow overnight I had this thing that I have to build something in technology again. But
what inspired you, or what triggered you?
It's pretty strange, because I had a couple of moments like this in my life when it just happened. I just woke up and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to do that thing, So I'm not sure if it was something that happened through my my exposure to different factors, or just came from another dimension? It's really hard to say, but like looking through the pipeline of all the changes, I have a tendency to believe it's just like some signals coming from somewhere else that influence the path. And I decided I want to study innovation, because since very early times, like I was like maybe 10, 11 years old, I started to see differently the world, in the sense of I was seeing problems and I was thinking, how can you build some solutions to solve those type of problems, and probably my jump from computer science to media through like the whole thing was just kind of an answer, because there was no like a real pipeline to follow, at least in the Romanian education system, for someone of that type, And I said, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I'm pretty sure I want to do things that were not done before, And I said, what's the best way to learn about this? And was through learning about innovation. So I joined a master's in innovation management in London. While I was there, I already had a problem in mind. I was hating passwords. And to me, it felt like there was so much evolution and people are still using those stupid passwords. And I started there a biometric technology company, which migrated into a fintech. Was super cool in terms of the product, not that good in terms of the business. But we eventually sold some patents to a Swiss company, which then later was acquired by Apple, and then later Apple released like the Apple Pay and the whole thing, which was having lots of the DNA on our initial idea. And after I was in London, essentially, it felt like a city I'm not willing to spend too much time of my life in. It was very vivid in terms of network connections, investors. Like, imagine I was 21 years old, something like that, and I was meeting people from Atomico and large firms to tell them about my idea. And this kind of triggered into my mind this ability that no matter who you are, if you really want to do something, you can just do it, And I started to cultivate this spirit of like, you have to be disciplined. You have to take a problem that's big enough and try to solve it somehow. And no matter how you will do it, the steps you will follow will take you somewhere,
And when you left Romania, you didn't felt that here.
I didn't felt it here. I think the switch, like this whole thing, okay, I'm like empowered to do stuff. I can do it even if I'm just a guy from Romania, happened in London, because the people there were so open to listen to the things I want to say and I want to propose, And through this whole network, I've met some people from Berlin, and they said, Călin, do you want to come here, build a company? We have a business accelerator. We have a couple of ideas. If you have some ideas,
join us.
Or let's just do something. And I was in between. I was discussing with some company in Sweden. I was thinking to go to Stockholm or to go to Berlin, and I was like, I think Berlin is maybe a better choice, weather-wise, cost-wise, lifestyle, expenditure-wise, and I moved there. I took care of an influencer marketing technology.
This was back in
2015 or 16. I don't remember exactly. I think 2015. And they said, okay, we have this idea. We have a performance media marketing agency that's backing it. So you have all resources. You can get developers, everything you want. Just let's build it. So there was not even the term influencer marketing being used. There were just some people back then on YouTube with a lot of followers that were trying to make money somehow. Some of them were making money in the gaming space, and in the beauty space there were this influencer girls promoting things, but was very, very rudimentary at the very beginning. So we've built a self-service platform to connect brands with influencers. And that was just like super successful, like in like 5-6 months from launching, was already profitable, generating a lot of money. And to me, it felt like a super annoying field, to be honest. I didn't want it to spend time there, because imagine like someone coming from a country like Romania, seeing a guy that it's promised 50,000 euro for a contract for a 3-minute video, and seeing that they are not like responding to the thing, that the brand has to like handhold them through the whole process, so they don't really care about this money for a bloody 3-minute video. You know, it's like there is something wrong in this space. I don't want to, I don't want to spend much.
I don't want to figure it out. I just want to.
Okay, you can like just do it. So I basically left the company, exited my shares. The company was then later bonded into the larger media group. The media group was acquired, so there was some carryover coming from there. So it was good. And it was a bit of a question mark point in my career, because I said, that's definitely not a field I want to be in. The whole fintech felt like way too slow for my way of like willing to do and building things and willing to see them validated. What else can I do, and where is still a space that there was not enough disruption? And that was essentially the health tech space, and I was like, okay, let's scan a bit the market, see what is available. And I've met the founder of Humano. Humano is essentially a company that is doing health incentive plans for corporate employees. It was just an idea. This guy had no employees, nothing. He just said, look, I want to create a platform essentially that helps people, like helps employees in corporates be happier, be a bit fitter, de-stress a little bit, because I'm pretty sure this converts into like increased work performance somehow, Now everyone knows it. But at that point it was like
an assumption.
It was an assumption, but somehow it made sense. And he was amazingly good at selling, So we said, okay, I'm gonna build this, let's build it. We've put together a team of engineers. I took care of whole product, technology, everything. So we launched the product.
How old were you back then?
Pretty young, like 24, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that. And 24. And then we've done it. Again, investors were just loving it, because we were pitching this whole thing that Euro population is getting older, employees are getting older, this kind of thing. So money was coming into it. This guy, Philip, was just the dream of any rich German corporate executive. Like, it was basically the incarnation of the ideal son you want to have to like do business in Germany, to help the companies and so on. So he was very good at selling it, and it started to just scale, But in terms of the product, there was not much stuff that could have been done on top of it. There was also a fintech component added at some point, that you had a card. Depending on how active you were able to spend some stuff with a card. And in that time, you can imagine I was pretty connected there with a network. Someone from a hardware company reached out and said, Călin, we have a pretty cool technology, is making lots of money. It was essentially a device for tracking movement, for assisting people in physiotherapies and in some clubs to perform exercises, essentially. But like, there were not gyms for young people. There were some gyms for more the senior type of age group, 60 plus. There was a chain of senior type of people that were using this type of device to work out. There were like gamification elements and so on. I said, okay, it's great. Why? It seems like the product, it's built, everything, it's fine. We actually have a big problem, because we've sold 2 years in advance of this product to different, like, it was like a franchise model with studios equipping them with this hardware, but we can't produce the hardware because it relies on a Kinect sensor from Microsoft that's not going to be produced anymore. And we sold it, but we can't. It's impossible to produce it. And then I said, okay, that sounds like a nice firefighter problem to fix. And they said, do you want to try do something different? And I was looking at alternatives. The other sensor was costing just 3 times the price of the device, so there was nothing. And I said, we don't really need this sensor. We can just do it all with computer vision, So we've built one of the first, I think, pose estimation technologies for real-time motion tracking and so on. And it was just like great, And working, they were selling, things were fine. Of course, at the moment I joined, half of the tech team knowing like what are the problems, they started to look for jobs. So I had to rebuild the whole technology product team, hired around 40 people there to do it, but we've done it, and it was something like we didn't know if it's going to work, we were saying there are like 80% chances it's not going to work, and it worked, and that was a bit of a big recognition moment for my ability to do.
What was the company called?
Pixformance.
Okay.
They are doing quite good now. They had like probably million users per week, something like that.
They are based just in Germany?
They are
Germany,
operating just in Austria, and they have huge presence right now in Asia, in Japan especially, and they launched recently in US as well. So it's doing quite good. And from that point on, it was not good because I just rebuilt their thing, but it was twice cheaper to build it, So we re-engineered everything. It was making a lot of sense. And in that way, I developed a pretty good relation with the CEO of the company. And in one of the times I was visiting China to produce some components there for this company, I've seen those mirrors for bathroom, like Chinese people had some on the market, like a smart mirror deployed in your bathroom for like telling you the weather, temperature, like some basic little stupid things. And I said, I want to visit the factory that is building those things. I was there with some Chinese locals, and they said, okay, let's go and see it. And in my mind, I was not aware about some other B2C mirrors for training at home. There was one in US, another one in Japan. And I said, Valerie, we can just build something like Pixformance, but for home. And it's going to cost quarter of the price to produce it, and we can sell it. Let's try to do it. We went to the investors, the board, they said, no, it's a stupid idea, it's a bad idea. And then I said, let's just do another company, and we see if it works. And if it works, we hire someone else to take care of Pixformance, and we go all into this. We knew some investors. They said, okay, take some money from here. You have 8 months to build a product, like hardware product with software, imagine.
Wow.
So in 8 months, we had like not just a prototype, but mass ready produced everything, like hardware with software, with everything. And when they saw that we delivered, they knew there was this connected bike peloton, which is in a bit turbulent problems right now in use. They are listed on the stock exchange. But it was the moment of glory for them, and there was no one in Europe doing something like that. There was like just money coming in. We raised, I think, around 85 million.
Wow.
And we've built it. We scaled. And at one moment when COVID and everything stopped, it started to kind of plateau it. People started to go back to this. So it was a mirror, smart mirror, full form factor
an ad about
for
it
training
at
at home. It was pretty nice. It won multiple design awards, very well recognized. People were very happy about it. But it was pretty hard to sell it, And in 2022, we faced a moment where we said, do we put like 100 million more to try to sell it, knowing the customer acquisition cost is pretty high, or we try to sell it to someone that already has a pipeline and sales channels for something like that. And we were close to sell it to some super huge hardware company, but they changed their mind, was really at the beginning of this down curve, economical curve that started in mid 20 at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022, and they were like, let's postpone it a little bit, but we had some alternatives, so we finally sold it to Bionic. This was company, a market leader in producing personalized supplements based on blood tests for top athletes and so on, doing super good financially. And they wanted to build this fully holistic type of system that gives you like supplements, gives you fitness at home, gives you all kind of recommendations for keeping you at the ultimate level of personalization. And they said, look, you did some crazy things before. We just have a super simple e-commerce here. We want to build something more complex set for a global winner. We acquired a couple of other companies. Do you want to like put all of them together, integrate all of them into one system that's scalable and effective? And I said, okay, sure. So I was responsible there for integrating Vaha, our company, plus 4 other companies into one. Like imagine 4-5 different types of things to be built in a way that you can sell them as one thing at the end. Like you take a giraffe, like a frog, a wolf, and they have to look like a sexy thing. And we did it, and that was parallel with Nostra. Biome. I was already starting it as a pet project to solve myself. And when I see it's working, I said, if this is working for other people, I will like just stop everything and just go all into it. And it was about 1 year after the acquisition when we had like a private trial with 27 people, and it worked for all of them. And I said, yeah, that's something huge. Put everything on hold, train all the other people that and give them the idea I will not be the CTO of this group anymore. And basically from that point on, I went all in Nostra Biome. And in all this time, of course, I was writing lots of patents, invented many things. So you can imagine there was always this kind of constraint between a hardware thing and the software, and building some sort of formats that they were not built before. And in the process of doing it, there was quite some innovation being developed.
It's incredible looking back at all your experience to see like the trajectory towards what you're building right now. So maybe you can tell us a bit about how do you see the ecosystem in general changing now? I mean, there are, especially in Eastern Europe, there are so many investors that don't even want to hear about hardware, about physical products, just software, and that's it. So I know, how do you see this in Western Europe? How can we balance this? How did you convince the investors to invest in these crazy ideas?
So starting with the last part, how did we convince them? It was pretty easy because we had a parallel model in US. It was not a mirror, it was a bike for training at home that was having a lot of financial momentum, and the financial model and unit economics were making sense, and we just said, we will do exactly the same kind of model, but in Europe. And of course, you look at all the things, and there are not major risks to expose when you build something like that. And it was pretty easy because they knew what we are capable of as a team. We had a certain track of record, and then it was easy. Now, when it comes to Europe, of course, the amount of money deployable compared to the US, it's much smaller, and obviously and there is also not so much expertise in hardware because all the hardware innovators from Europe run away in US or in Asia. So they do things there. And obviously the venture capital industry tries to de-risk as much as possible and maximize the outcomes. And when you do a hardware business, you have to consider like stocks, defects,
logistics, everything.
Logistics, depends on the form factor of the device, like regulatory certifications. The pipeline to be able to sell it, it's much longer. The iterative process is more complicated. You've built something, maybe the market will say we don't need it, and then you have to start from scratch all over again. Whether in software, you always have more flexibility to pivot and do different things. But I think we will start seeing more hardware innovation happening in Europe because it has to happen. I mean, we can't just build software here and rely on externals. If you look on most of the countries on the import-export deficit, like 99% is just importing hardware. We are not producing anything almost here anymore. And then there are sectors like defense, for example, where we started a bit the discussion before. We are kind of forced by the social, geopolitical context to start building something that's beyond hardware. Of course, there is AI, and you can do a lot of stuff with AI, but there is also a lot of buzz around real deep AI. People like to use this term. And in general, I think we are forced to adapt, and we adapt, and the capital will get there, and I think there are maybe not enough opportunities. I don't think the capital is really the problem. I think there are not really enough founders that are brave enough and come with a convincing model that makes also financially sense, because you might have an idea about a cool product and we all agree it's cool, but it's not making sense from a financial model for me as an investor to give you money for it, because maybe the return, it's not going to be big enough versus the risks of you failing being higher, or like looking at different investment metrics from that point of view.
And why do you think that most founders don't have a good financial model? Is it because of the ecosystems, the way the ecosystem is set up right now, and it's maybe more expensive to produce hardware technology, or is it because they don't know how to basically create a business model and sell the products accordingly?
I think there are two things here. Like, number one is there are people that are good at building it, but they run away, so they don't stay in Europe because they think, okay, it's gonna be difficult to convince the investors. So it's like this.
And is it that hard to convince the investors, or it's just, I don't know, everyone says that it's hard to convince the investor? Actually, it's not that hard.
I don't think it's that hard. I think there is money. There is a lot of money in Europe that just stays right now. People are waiting for good opportunities to invest. But if you are not convincing enough as a team, as a product proposition, as a business proposition, you will not get that money, because they will try to filter you. An investor, what do they do basically? They try to kill the idea from all the angles. And if they don't kill it, if it stands, if it survives, it's like, okay, let's move on. Let's see how it goes,
And from your expertise, what are like the I don't know, what kind of moat can you build as a very early stage startup and founder in the eyes of an investors? What helped you? What helped you the companies that you worked for?
I think what it helped me was that I had a good track of record of building things, which happened a bit accidentally in my case. And I don't think there are many situations like that.
I wouldn't say it was accidentally, because you positioned yourself in the right contexts for that to happen.
That's correct. But if you look at the amount of people exiting that route, to say like that, versus the software people that are exiting that route, the amount of people that did software and hardware, it's very small. And I think somehow it happened by accident, because going to point 2 of your previous question, there is still a very fragile ecosystem, because you don't have industry, you don't have manufacturing, you don't have production. You might have some talented people that have ideas about hardware.
Come on, Germany doesn't have manufacturing.
Yeah, but
it's not enough.
It's not enough, because they think in the context of of like being somehow a regional type of player. You know, when you go to a VC, they want you to be a global player, to be a global winner. Plus, there are many aspects. You know, when you go the route of a big manufacturer, let's take an automotive brand. You know, the profile of the people there, even if they are so talented, they are not so risk adverse. You know, so I think it's a huge difference between being a super good professional like engineer or designer or salesperson and being an entrepreneur. I think at the entrepreneurial part, it's something you can learn if you really want to do it, but I think it's something you get born with. It's a bit into your DNA to be an entrepreneur, you know. And I think the Germans, if you took this example, are super skilled in doing certain things, but they are very low risk. They have very low risk adversity. They prefer a well-equipped job, well-paid job, still interesting projects, rather than saying, okay, I don't care if in 1 year I will have no money. I trust this idea is good enough. And the fact that you don't have enough people like that to build an ecosystem or a closed network with closed nets, it's justifying somehow the small number of hardware companies that get developed here. Because maybe let's say I'm an engineer that I know how to do cool hardware, but I cannot go just as an engineer there. I have to present the team, and then where's the sales? Like, how many experts in B2C sales products we have besides the, you know, like mobile phone companies, which are corporates at the end of the day, and they don't care about startups because they do well enough in their field there, you know?
Yeah. You talked about the trait of an entrepreneur in being prone towards risk. Do you think that it's a matter of, I mean, and you said that you believe that you should you are born with it.
Yeah.
Can it be also something that you can maybe train yourself a bit? And the second follow-up question would be, is it something, I mean, that risk taking, do you think is also connected with like the higher mission that you want to achieve? Like, I want to build something great, and because you believe it that strong, you take bigger and bigger risks.
Yes, I think the connection goes a bit in that direction. You know, I think as I said, you can learn to be an entrepreneur, but the challenge is that in the path of an entrepreneur, there is so much uncertainty, pain, and suffering that if you don't really want with all your heart to do that thing, to believe, let's say, in a certain mission, you will stop at some point.
Definitely.
You know?
But what is that thing that kept you and keeps you going, taking the risks, enduring all the struggles and messy situations and so on and so forth?
There is discipline, for sure. I'm very disciplined, and I think it's like in sports, you know, you see people that might be talented, but they lack discipline and they just vanish.
Yeah.
And you see super disciplined athletes that just go in the top thanks to this discipline. So to take, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo, which is now an investor in Bionic and direct partner there, he is the definition of discipline.
Definitely.
You know? He is just disciplined.
Definitely.
There were like...
He has an amount of talent.
He is talented for sure, but...
Just discipline without the minimum required talent, it's not... It doesn't going to help as much.
Yeah.
But definitely it's a model of discipline.
What I'm trying to say is that discipline basically keeps you run a longer race. You know? With just like a short-term motivation, you will do something short-term, you know. But if you are disciplined, you apply discipline, you do it, you keep doing, even if it's painful, because you believe somehow in the process, that the process will take you somewhere. And of course, you have to have something that you are passionate about. If that subject, that topic that you try to achieve is just a problem that you think it's good to solve because you can make some money, very likely you will die.
As in your
slowly.
example with the influencer marketing.
That's a good example. Like at some point I stopped believing it. I saw no personal connection or synergy with the subject. Of course, it's a huge market and it 100x since that time, probably even more. But I did not have a personal connection. So I think discipline is number one, but discipline connected to a passion, to something that you really believe in, because these two then fuel each other and you go beyond the destination.
When you say discipline, maybe you can give us some examples about what are you doing in order to...
So I can give you, for example, discipline does not have to be necessarily just business related,
Okay.
I think you have to develop certain habits that are taking care of different parts of yourself. You should do like some sports regularly. You don't have to be a professional athlete, but you have to do it. You have to at least take a little bit care of what you eat. You have to involve yourself in the social life. You have to learn something new every month at least, if not every week. You have to set like some targets that are always going from one to another, like small milestones, and create your own framework of discipline to achieving those certain parts. And again, they don't have to be only business related. I think they have to be health related, social related, financial related, learning, self-development, all of them. And by moving from one point to another, you just teach yourself to go throughout this journey, and then you deconstruct everything depending on what business you are building in a similar manner. So just taking Nostra Biome, when we started, I had no clue about microbiome, about bacteria, about anything, but to me it looked like a physical problem, like a mathematical problem more, because you have an environment where are living some organisms, and those organisms are moving away, entering, producing certain chemicals, and these are affecting your body. So instead of looking as biologists are doing it from like the organism, from the biology point of view, I looked from a physics, mathematics point of view at the problem, trying to find some answers to certain things, And one thing that helped me a lot was, whatever is your passion to be good at, you have to become some sort of field expert into that. So just dedicate everything to learn everything that can be learned about that field. And imagine when you know information from different fields that seem to have no connection, your brain, because it's an amazing tool that nature equipped us with, starts connecting things, like it's taking a problem from here, finds an answer from here and says like, oh, we can actually do something with them, So I think being curious and learning is super important.
Going forward with the Nostra Biome story, you told your personal story with why did you started looking into this, but maybe you can tell us more about like what made you take this path. And when was the moment you understood that, okay, this is something that can help me and help people? And how did you end up there?
So as I said, initially I wanted to do something for myself because I was having those medical problems for more than 10 years. I was not responding to any therapy, went to 20 plus different doctors. They said, no, you have to wait, you have to see, let's see. So to me, it was also this aspect that there was always a sort of personalization layer in everything I was doing. And looking at like experiencing this medical condition, the problem I had, it was frustrating to see how generic all the people were approached by the medical. No matter was a top hospital in like probably best hospital in Europe, or just some hospital in Romania or a clinic in Romania. They were like, oh yeah, we do it like that, like super rapid, super fast and so on. And it was clear to me that this, not just in my problem, but in most of the diseases, it's a huge issue that can be solved somehow with technology. So I said, okay, let's try to look at the individual a little bit different. That's how the whole technology derived. It helped me. And when it helped me, it felt somehow too easy, because in all these years, it felt like there's no alternative, you just have to wait. And then like 1 year later, it was like, bam, it works. And I asked myself, okay, there is this market of people experiencing the same journey of troubles I was experiencing, and they think there is no solution. Let's just recruit some of them and see if it works for them. And if it works for a few of them, for sampling, very likely it's going to work for others, not for all, but for a large pool of them. And we just looked for people that were not responding, having same type of problem, put them through the same pipeline, same technology, same protocol, and it worked. And when I saw the data, it was like, of course, I knew how big is the market. There are millions of people, and that this technology can then also be translated to others. I looked what the others are doing, and I said, it's not making sense what they are doing. They will fail. Of course, the investors we were talking with 2 years ago said, no, look, take this reference. Like 2 years later, bam, bankrupt, because it was not working. And now they come to us and they say, yeah, you are actually right about the thing you were saying. And I just want to do it, coming back to the beginning of your question, because I'm in a moment of my life where I think I can do whatever I want, and I want to do something that really helps people. Let's say I was building some products that were solving some sort of fake problem to a certain extent in the past, but now I think there are enough large problems that require people that have, let's say, the luxury of affording to spend time in that field, and then like really trying to do something that helps people. So in the next 10 years, I don't want to do anything that's not solving a real problem,
And do you think that you would have been able to build such a product if you wouldn't have had the experiences before?
For sure not. Because that's interesting in the path of every company, like all the scars you have on the back as an entrepreneur from previous mistakes, from previous failures and bad decisions, they are converted into added value for the new thing you are doing. And that's why I think we are so unique and so equipped. Like when I say Nostra Biome, it's already a unicorn, people say, yeah, you are just overconfident, you're a bit crazy. Because I know you can't build this technology if you do not go the path me and some part of my team members went. It's unless we tell you how we did it 100%, it's impossible for a microbiologist, which is basically the way most of the biotech company originate, to come to certain type of approach, And the answer is no. I think the sum of everything you do takes you to the next level, essentially.
Because I asked you this because it happened to me many times in the programs that we have, to see young or whatever, 30 years old people, but doing something like this for the first time. They have a great mission. They have a great, problem they want to solve. But you look at it and you know that it's way bigger than what they are at that moment capable to do. So I know, any advice here for us working with these people, for these people that maybe are looking at this episode?
I think it depends on the ability of the founder to really commit to the thing. I think you can learn stuff if you really are willing to learn and go through the whole complexity of learning that thing. If you just say, okay, I will learn, and then you dedicate half an hour a day to learning that, it's very likely going to be.
That's so incredible, because especially in the last months, this is basically the discrepancy I see in many founders. Like, the dream is amazing, but the ambition is like, come on, man, It's way lower than where it should be.
It's again going to those two metrics. I think like everyone I'm working with, I'm looking at this like how disciplined are they? So you can be like super talented. If you are not disciplined, we can't work because it's not going to be always great. You will not always be driven by talent. There will be painful points where we just have to do it. And you will have to commit to it. If you don't commit to it, it's not going to work. That's the problem of the first-time founders, that they see some wall of problems, some obstacles, and they get discouraged by them, because there is no one really there next to them to kind of, okay, let's discuss how we avoid those obstacles or how do you overcome them. And then because they lack this kind of advisor, that's where advisors are coming into the equation, to talk with these people, to say this is normal, it's everyone has problems. But they see the obstacle, and in their mind, in their subconsciousness, it starts this like kind of locking mechanism. It's not going to work, And then it's just another smaller obstacle, another one, and then they get totally discouraged about the thing. But you see like founders building crazy companies like Bolt, for example. Just young guy said, okay, I will do an Uber competitor. And now he's doing 200 billion something or 20 billion in sales, something like that. And he started it while he was in university. So there are those examples where people are so committed and so driven by what they want to do that they ignore any kind of obstacle, and they say, okay, I'm driving the Ferrari to the wall because the wall will move at some point, I'm accelerating and it will happen.
Isn't that also like a dangerous attitude up to a point?
It is.
And how do you balance it?
It is because you can be excessive about it, as you predicted it. You can and you start ignoring feedback. That's one of the pitfalls some overconfident or non-experienced people go into. They just have an idea, and all the others are stupid, have no idea, don't understand it, and they ignore the feedback. And this happens very, very frequent with first-time product companies, where someone has an idea and the market says it has to be adjusted a little bit into that format, and they're no, it's good, we have to do it as we want to do it.
You just did another feature.
Kind of living in a different, they are too biased, when you're too biased. So I think you have to develop somehow this ability to listen, which I'm not sure how you should do it,
Do you think that the solution might be, because this is what we are trying to teach them, is like, don't fall in love with the solution, but fall in love with the people and their need, because then you will adjust whatever idea and solution you have.
I think it is like that. Don't fall in love with the idea, but in terms of a framework, try to kill your own idea first, but be transparent about it. Forget that it's your kid and you love it. Try to kill it and see if the way you try to kill it was surviving, and how that's different from other people say it's not working, And then you can little bit adjust, but you have to have this ability to be non-biased about it. I also have like hundreds of ideas that I killed, It's not like, I'm not even telling people like about the ideas, because at every my wife says, it tells me about something, and then I'm thinking about some technology, and I tell her, she's like, you just like in every kind of situation you want to find of course, some of them are just very high level, then you think about it deeper, it doesn't make sense. But then after I'm thinking about it, kind of try to pack it, I'm also trying to invalidate it. So there's always this balance, It's
I would say battle.
It's a battle between, it's like a plus, like a yin-yang kind of thing, like a plus and minus to really see if it makes sense, Before Nostra Biome, I was like shooting it big time from all angles to make sure it really deserves this attention and focus and everything. And it survived, And when I shooted it from all different angles, I knew how other people will try to shoot it, and I knew what kind of answers they will be satisfied with.
Nice. What do you think it's different about Nostra Biome? Why? Because for many people, maybe this is like the question, like why were you able to do it? And why, I don't know, the big pharma guys, the big biotech companies and so on and so forth?
It has to do with the way you think personalization makes sense. Pharma and most of the biotech companies try to build mass applicable solutions because it is a certain mindset of designing it, building it, testing it, bringing to the market and making money with it. And that's why one of the reasons why those innovation hubs under pharma are producing so few innovations, because people there have ideas, but then they are filtered through the go-to-market pipeline of a product they already know how it works, and they say, we can't do it, it's too complicated and so on. In our case, we started very antithetic about what others did. We kind of denied some facts or some things others tried to demonstrate. So for instance, most of the microbiome companies, when you do a microbiome test, they compare it against an ideal standard. They say like a benchmarking, control cohort type of thing. Whether here, it's such a profound and personalized combination of facts that are having to do with your genes, with what you eat, with what kind of environment you're exposed to, with what kind of other health issues you have, that's impossible to say that's good for me and it's also good for you. And we said there is no ideal microbiome. That's a stupid thing. There are, of course, some good things which we can rely on in terms of like what chemicals the body requires from those organisms to be produced and use them, and what can be wrong, but that's all, We can't say that Călin's microbiome, it's going to work out on David's microbiome, and that's it, And we started from this angle of looking at the problem, and we said we have to understand what is the unique set of factors within each of the individuals that's then back tracing, connecting with what they are experiencing from a clinical point of view. And the super funny thing about this approach is that we see every month different studies where they do like machine learning, they apply machine learning to data sets of microbiome samples to drag some conclusions, And our system already does what those people were doing, like applying machine learning to thousands of cohorts without having the whole cohort data. So let's say it knows this kind of generally applicable information without having previously the data, but it knows on top of it things that are super personal to each individual. And those are things a machine learning statistical study, for example, cannot achieve, because again, we take 1,000 people, there will be some sort of level of overlap and similarity if you just look at the organism. But then when you start to look at how frequent they eat bananas, how frequent they eat eggs, and all this kind of things, you mess up the whole model. The variability, it's so big that it's hard to really drag a general applicable conclusion. So we said our bread and butter will be that we will understand how uniquely this microbiome influences each person, but also by understanding as much as possible about what they do, because the microbiome reports, they take the sample, they give you a report. So what does it mean? You just have it there. We say, okay, like we understand what you eat. We understand how you sleep. We understand what other problems are visible in your blood, how the problems began, like how old are you, for how long you, like we profile you in a 360 type of quadrants in a way that we are able then to understand which elements from the microbiome produce the wrong chemicals that are then connected to those things, And then we said also for other diseases, we have to understand how the microbiome affects your immune system, And we said, forget about, okay, there are pathways, there are these things, but the immune system is just like an army of things at the end of the day that responds to certain problems, Imagine you are like in a city that might have a lot of people stealing stuff on the street, and you have a limited amount of police officers that can interact with it. That's the immune system, And if the immune system is busy with this kind of guy stealing on the street, of course they cannot cope with corruption and other things that happens within the apartments of that city, And we developed a model that predicts essentially how the chemicals from your microbiome influence the immune system and how loaded the immune system is because of that. And that's very valuable because you understand how certain therapies that are interfering with the immune system might work or not due to this load, And that's what we essentially do and others are not doing. And then we say what you have to do to change that, to reverse engineer, rebalance, how you can do it, also by understanding what you eat, how you live, what kind of problems you have, and so on.
I'm super interested in listening to what you explain right now, my perspective on it is this is kind of a different philosophical
It's a philosophical approach. Yeah.
And my question is, how did you end up thinking about it like this?
I don't know. It's very interesting because
why did you believe that this is the right approach?
I told you at the beginning of the discussion that I think some elements just came from somewhere. My wife says you're a bit too mystical sometimes about things, even if I don't look at the first glance. The funny fact is that when I knew in the morning how this whole system should work, and I told Valerio, our CTO and co-founder, end to end, we had the 3-hour discussion, and I told him all the details, and he was like, "Is this copied from somewhere, or where is it coming from?"
With which type of aliens did you met this morning?
So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It was just coming, and probably it came through other people's minds, but they said, yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense. And
was it maybe something from what you read about all of this, or you saw what others were trying? And
I don't know. It's interesting because, as I said, when you expose your head to different type of problems and solutions from different industries, it just produces cross-referencing. It has some sort of emergent capacity to connect dots without you thinking about it. And one element that helped me become so granular in connecting dots, I think, was the fact that I was also having a technical due diligence. I'm still having a due diligence company for investors checking technical companies, and I've seen all kind of crazy type of problems and solutions and implementation to certain things. And somehow my brain was just picking stuff from there and connecting it. But I really don't know. I think probably other people had similar ideas, but they were not brave enough to try to go this route.
Because this is my next question. Wasn't that risky for you and for your co-founder? Okay, you believe it, but your co-founders was why should we do it? Because I believe it. And they were okay, but...
I think, for example, with Valerio, why he believes in all these kind of antagonic views on certain aspects is because we know each other since the Humano. So he was the third employee, the first technical employee I did actually in Humano. And he saw that those crazy ideas I had were becoming reality at some point in the market, and I think he saw, for sure, he thought it's a bit of a crazy idea to a certain extent, but he saw also some logical arguments and said, yeah, it makes sense. And then I said how others are doing it and why what we are doing is making more sense. And then I think the argument was strong enough, and then I didn't have to convince anyone else. It was just enough for us to do it.
Nice. My next questions would be why... the investors in your company right now, it's a VC from Singapore.
Yeah.
Why Singapore? Why not Europe? Why, I don't know, why not US?
In Europe, no one believed in that at the beginning. Now they...
Not even the, I mean, I know what, maybe you, I know if it's something that you can mention, but not even the big guys in the VC?
Imagine, through the history of companies I've built, through the history of companies my company audited for investors, we had access to almost all top investors.
You already mentioned at least one of them, which is one of the biggest in Europe.
We had access to all of them, and they were not seeing it, not understanding it. They were like. Plus, there was another problem. I wanted it to be a Romanian company. They said, it's a bit outside our area of expertise. Of course, the funds in Romania doing still a great job. It was a too complicated model for them to jump in. And Verge, the fund from Singapore, they also think it was like some sort of destiny match going through. Just came out of nowhere, and we wanted to get a ticket from a fund that it's a medtech fund, because I had no clue how you build a medtech regulated product and what you can do, and I needed
their know-how.
I needed someone to say, hey, you are wrong here.
Yeah.
You have to do it like that, or pay more attention to this because it's going to pay off at certain point in time. And the cycle of building a medtech company, it's very different from another one. From regulatory, from who is paying, how you evolve to certain, like how you generate clinical evidence, trials. It's a bit like hardware, not many people want to do. And we just had a discussion, and I told them like this approach, I said, look, it might sound crazy, but that's how we do it, like in detail. And they liked it. And as I said, that was happening around 1.5 years ago. No other funds were up to it. They were like, there is another microbiome company. Yeah, but we are just doing a bit different thing.
We are the crazy ones.
We are the crazy ones, the misfits.
Yeah.
And now they all like it, out of the sudden. They all like it because they've seen we did pretty good progress. They've seen, I said, we will also have financial traction. Unlike other companies you will see building biotech that need 4 years to sell the product. We will generate some sales. And they saw that we generated some money with the company as well, and they start to get why the others were wrong and how we are right about things, And it's motivating, and then you see studies. Some university in China did a study, and then I say, Valerio, let's check. We were right about that. It's like, and they are on the pace right now of just observing things. We are on the phase where we do an intervention, so you take us, a company that's 2 years old, and we are already ahead of companies that started 8 years ago because we took this crazy approach.
And what was the stage when you raised the first round? Did you were pre-product? Did you have
we had an MVP?
Okay.
But the MVP was pretty small compared to what we have right now. We just had this MVP that helped myself and the other people in the pre-trial. Was quite slow. I mean, it had some gaps, I would say, but I think they liked the narrative. They liked
the
that
story.
There is a guy that says, okay, I don't care, I don't need money, I will anyway do it, I just need you because I don't know what to do in terms of the medtech, of the regulatory and all the other aspects. And I think they liked that. They back this super early stage, crazy, visionary type of people. And by the way, interesting enough, the general partner there was born in Romania. So his parents moved in Canada when he was 6 months old or something like that.
Wow.
So he is DNA Romanian, and nice. I think when he saw it, probably he felt like some sort of paragenetical connection with the thing. But they have very interesting companies in the portfolio. They have this swallowable pill bot. So it's like a pill you swallow, and it has a camera and navigates in your stomach, filming like different kind of brain signal capturing. So they do
crazy stuff.
Their model is we finance the crazy ones. If one is good enough, we are fixed.
Nice. And how, was it kind of a pre-seed round?
It was a pre-seed round.
Yes. And now are you looking to start raising the next round?
We are actually raising right now. We want to raise at least 3.5 million in the next round, but I think we will do more. I think we will oversubscribe.
Nice. And this is just dedicated for VCs, or do you do also like a seed blink something round, or not yet? Or you're not interested in doing that?
No, we discussed a bit with this area of crowd investing, but it's not what we really need at this point in time. Because again, right now we need money for going to market big time, for market development. Technology is built. Of course, there is always stuff you can build and improve. But we also look at the equation from the point of view, like where can we learn and what can we learn from the investors? It's just like a syndicate giving us money versus there is a fund that gives us a market access, for example. And that weighs sometimes more than money.
Definitely. Why Romania? Why that obsession of having the company in Romania?
That's another thing my wife is a bit scared about, because she said like this whole thing with Romania is happening too fast. We just like years ago we were like, I don't want to do anything in Romania. Things are bad there and so on. And then overnight, I want to do things in Romania. And we have a small child, 2 years old, and I want him to build himself and see him growing in a market that has a lot of vacuum points, for development. He was born in Berlin, but Germany is a flat market now. There is infrastructure is okay. Hospitals are decent. This is okay. They have some security problems, energetical problems. That's another story. But it's not a place where you can have big up developments, Whether Romania, it's a very interesting economy and place where it catched up a lot with the West, but there is still huge industries and verticals where disruptions can be applied and can happen. And if you look at the curve and you convert it into quality of life, because this will stagnate, like Germany, France, they will stagnate because there's not much stuff that can happen, but they will start having more problems, While those more emergent market is not the correct term, but let's say those more emerging economies and markets benchmarking almost on a similar path on life quality, they will just go higher, and the type of problems the others have will catch up later with us. And I want my son essentially to take the time of glory of Romania as an economy to go to like an adulthood age.
You also wrote a couple of things about the Romanian startup ecosystem and economy. Where do you see us at a European and global level, growing and becoming maybe a regional player, important player?
I think regionally we are already an important player in the tech space. I'm very bullish about everything that's gonna be development of Romania for several reasons. And one is this theory which I just presented. Second, there are many people that, thanks to this remote work policy, moved back to Romania, some of them still working for outside companies, some of them thinking about doing something themselves. So there is the granularity of the ecosystem. It's getting more and more dense, and I think that's a very, very good thing. Plus, again, the quality of life, it's improving a lot. The security, it's pretty good compared to most of the Western countries. You have also all this self-promoted, like, let's do tourism. It's such a beautiful country, which is in the end. So there are beautiful cities, which are getting more beautiful because we figured out, hey, let's renovate our buildings, let's make them look good finally, and it's gonna get attractive for people from the West that are not necessarily Germans or French, but are also like expats that move there for certain elements, and they look for other markets that are better to continue their life in. But this is just something that goes organically, and to accelerate it, you have to definitely do certain things, like in any company, if you look just on quarters, you have quarterly KPIs or yearly KPIs without having a big picture, it's not going to work. If you don't lift yourself a bit above the problems to see the full picture and where you want to be, it doesn't matter. You're like, okay, what's the KPI for next year? And then we will figure out next year. Because that's basically how Romania works right now. You have governments changing. People come and say, the others before were stupid, had no clue. We are better. We have a plan. So I think, and by the time the plan should start, there are others coming saying, hey, this plan is not correct. Let's do another one. So I think I'm talking about tech here and maybe a bit about the health space where I saw some things that can be improved, but it requires a long-term plan. It requires something that's not only driven by the entrepreneurs, by the companies, by promoters of the startup ecosystem, but by the government somehow. All these political parties that try to win the thing should come and say, the next 20 years, let's just agree on a couple of directions, not all of them. Let's take tech and health, for example, and agriculture, and let's make a plan regardless who is leading, managing. We just do that plan. We don't change the plan. If we change the plan, it's not going to work, and stick to that. And when you do that, what happens is that you bring the interest of people from outside, investors, not just VC, but also private equity, which is more money, different type of opportunities. They see, oh, this country has a plan. We can put some money there. It makes sense, Like, take, for example, Saudi Arabia, yeah? They obviously have a lot of money thanks to the oil extraction, but everyone thinks in the tech VC space, private equity, that there will be a flourishing ecosystem there in the next 10 years. So they literally built things in the desert, or like the Emirates. When they were building crazy islands on the water, and we thought, they are just megalomaniac, No, the guys just had a plan, long-term plan, to do something to transform a desert into a hub. And they did it, and people did not understand until recently what was going on there. And this is achieved through administrative leadership at the end of the day, which unfortunately...
have a huge difference between us and they.
Yeah.
We are a democracy, they are not.
That's the thing, but you can solve it. Again, if you just have... You don't have to fix all the problems, You just have to set some drivers that can change certain parts of the economy. And if you still want to freestyle of certain areas, okay, freestyle, you will see it's not going to work.
Yeah. Incentive design, in my opinion, is the one thing that's missing, and it's all over the place in not just in Romania, in Europe in general.
Yeah, there is no predictability. Even entrepreneurs, because they know, hey, there will be obstacles, hundreds of obstacles ahead of myself, which I predict. If you as a state tell me, hey, there will be some yellow obstacles coming potentially at some point, it's like, it's clear it's going to be difficult.
What do you believe about the innovative landscape, Romania and Europe? What can we do in order to, get get back at real innovation, because truth being told, we stagnated a lot in the last 30 to 15 years in Europe in general, and Romania, unfortunately, is like at the bottom of the...
Yeah. I think we have to reduce the bureaucracy on everything that's innovation. Definitely design some incentives for innovation, not only tax related, but all sort of, it's a plurality of them that has to be done. In general, I think if we continue like that in Europe, not only in Romania, we will be like third world place in the next 20 years. So I think it's good that we see some changes influenced by this geopolitical events that give us a cold shower that we have to at least do things a little bit different. Plus, there is a lot of regulatory burden. By the way, US just said, let's lighten up the regulatory so we have more innovation happening here and making innovation go to market easier. So we applied to also, we have application in progress with different European funds and so on. And the thing is simple, we want to build a solution. We don't want to write papers. We don't want to write a book. I'm not a writer. I'm an innovator, and that's, I think many entrepreneurs say beyond the lines this thing. It has to be easier to access funds because the funds are there, but you have to do this crazy project that doesn't have anything to do with the real business to attract that money, and all these programs of let's give money like this, let's make a startup nation, again, they are good, but as long as they are missing certain long-term outcomes, will be effective just for the crazy, super motivated entrepreneurs, which anyway will do something regardless of having European support or not. And then you have to go to the kids, it starts from the kids. You have to teach the kids that they can do stuff here. And probably that's one of the areas where I still don't have a clear opinion, because everyone complains about our education system, that you learn so many things that are useless and that's so rigid and so on. But at the end of the day, if I cope this with my theory that you have to be exposed to different things, and you look at, let's say, high school graduate in Romania, the cognitive ability they have to solve problems is much higher than of people that are, let's just do these things that you like, Oh, my kid wants to be a painter or wants to be an engineer, then he will just learn about engineering like in the Nordic countries, for example. I think that's bit dangerous because innovation is just about combining status quo with upcoming problems. If you just learn to be an engineer and you will not need engineers at some point, it will be pretty late the moment when you'll ask yourself what I'm doing next, Whether if you cultivate earlier this ability, not all the people have to be innovators, but to at least cultivate this capacity to adapt, the adaptability, you will have this second, third type of generations taking over some sort of problems that are going to happen, that are going to be present here,
Just imagine having people with this mindset as employees, not as entrepreneurs or innovators. I mean, those companies will skyrocket because their approach is completely different on everything.
I think that's the beauty of startups. You usually find those people in startups, but they are not enough, Again, I think the ecosystem, it's very young right now. The people that are part of the ecosystem are just this marginal or even singular examples of people that they would have done it regardless because it was in the DNA of them, And as you said previously, you can cultivate, not everyone has to be and something that starts an idea into a business, you know. It can be someone that is just innovative in a certain field, solving a certain aspect, like how we renovate buildings faster in all the beautiful cities of Romania, you know. Definitely. You don't have to build a company, but how can you look laterally at this problem and come with something?
Călin, what's your vision about Nostra Biome and then about the startup ecosystem?
So Nostra Biome, for sure, I want it to be a leader in personalized microbiome intelligence, doing many other diseases. So we do digestive problems now and oncological. I think it has potential to go for others. We want it to be the first Romanian medtech, biotech in the bank unicorn, not in the vid, you know, because right now I think it is already there. And help as many people as possible that are currently struggling due to different health diseases. As for the Romanian ecosystem, obviously the vision is about like how you build those things, you know. Obviously I will not get into politics and things like that because I think there are others born to do this kind of job. But personally, I will try to consolidate as much as possible the ecosystem. And there are two ways in doing it. One is like really helping others that did not do it before with free advisory, exchange of ideas, connections, network, and so on. And creating more density within the network. You know, I think we should take a bit more the example of other nations where this kind of ecosystems are, even if they are not developed, they are more collaborating to a certain purpose. Because I believe if you contribute to the ecosystem, it will pay off somehow, financially, or as an experience or as a satisfaction at the end of the day. And the beauty is that we can build it now, you know. It's at the beginning, it's so cool. We can build whatever we want, you know. It's just, we have to do it. We have to commit to it. And I brought Nostra Biome here because I want to prove you can build something in any city. Arad, in our case, any city, and give examples to people, give examples to kids that they can do also this kind of things here, you know?
And my last question is, why are you keep doing this? Why are you keep building stuff and being an entrepreneur? And why should someone, I don't know, keep doing this for maybe some of them are, I know, struggling with staying and putting in the effort and pushing through the, I know, walls and so on and so forth.
So I wanted at one point to become a VC. I was working with a VC firm and I figured out that I just like to build things. And that's a simple answer. I have to build things. That's what is making me happy. And for everyone out there, I think there is no better or higher satisfaction than achieving something after going all these crazy hundreds of obstacles, you know? And this is something that nothing can reward you. You know, you feel something inside after so much struggle, even if you don't make millions or something. But if you achieved something from an idea to something that helped someone, that worked, that made sense, it gives you this sense of wealth nothing can give you, and satisfaction, you know, and that's the reason. I just enjoy it.
Călin, thank you so much for joining us today. It was amazing to have this conversation. Wish you all the best in your endeavors with Nostra Biome. Can't wait to hear more and more news about what you achieved, guys. Fingers crossed. And
thank you.
Can't wait to also collaborate in
Sure.
growing the ecosystem here on the western border.
It will be my pleasure, yes.
Thank you again, Călin. Thank you for watching our episode. See you to the next one.